brutality of the sentence. Elizabeth's ministers had concluded that their opposition did not extend to the point of armed intervention in Mary's favour. But still, Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen, wavered. It was a grave matter to behead a fellow monarch. It set a sinister precedent. Mary herself recognised this. "Please do not accuse me of presumption if, about to abandon this world and preparing for a better one, I bring up to you that one day you will have to answer for your charge," she wrote keenly to Elizabeth from her cell at Fotheringay. But by degrees, the Queen of England had allowed herself to be convinced of the necessity for ruthlessness by her Protestant councillors, and on February 1st, 1587, she added the authority of the Crown to the judgment against Mary by signing the death warrant. 4 days later, on February 5th, this document was secretly dispatched to Fotheringay by courier, and on the evening of February 7th, as she prepared for bed, Mary was brusquely informed that she would meet her death the following morning at 8 o'clock. The Queen of Scots' reaction to the news of her imminent execution was tempered not only by the extreme duration of her captivity — she had been confined under house arrest for more than 18 years — but by her profound belief that her martyrdom at Elizabeth's hands would benefit the Catholic cause in Europe. Consequently, she made no scene, not even when she was refused the services of a priest and the solace of last rites. Rather, she was tranquil and dignified throughout. She spent her last hours composing her will, making bequests and comforting her servants. She dispensed the few personal items that remained of her once magnificent equipage. She knelt in prayer. All the while, she and her attendants could hear the sound of the wooden platform that would hold the block on which she would lay her head in preparation for decapitation, being noisily constructed in the castle's great hall. She was summoned to her ordeal at a little after 8 in the morning. She appeared in full court dress, accompanied by her small household, one of her manservants holding a crucifix aloft before her. Her flowing gown was of black satin and velvet, highlighted by hints of purple, symbol of royalty. Her trademark red-brown curls, a wig now, as the 44-year-old Queen's real hair was grey, were draped by a floor-length white lace veil, signifying purity. A throng of people, both officials of the royal court and local gentry, crowded the hall, having been invited to witness the spectacle of the Queen's beheading. They took their places around the raised dais as Mary, with quiet majesty, mounted the steps to her fate. A heavy stone axe, instrument of her death. Like those with which they cut wood, an eyewitness later reported, was displayed prominently on the stage. The ceremony of state execution began. A Protestant clergyman, who had been engaged to sermonise the Queen, began a lengthy discourse. Mary countered by praying aloud, first in Latin and then in English, for the protection and advancement of the Catholic Church. The competing religious devotions having concluded, the Queen of Scotland was then divested of her veil and outer gown, as was customary. Her underskirt and bodice were of russet burgundy, another deliberate choice, representing the blood of martyrs. In this costume, she was led to the block, and there knelt upon the pillows placed in front of it for that purpose. Weeping softly, her oldest and most loyal maidservant gently bound her mistress's eyes in white silk and arranged her hair so as to leave her neck bare. Then Mary laid her head upon the block. Although horrifyingly gruesome by modern standards, decapitation was actually the elite method of execution in the 16th century, because it was over in one quick stroke. Suffering was assumed to be minimal, so only those of very high rank were granted the privilege of dying in this manner. Criminals and commoners, by contrast, were almost always hanged, which took much longer. If the offence committed was of sufficient gravity, a culprit might be subjected to the torture of being drawn and quartered. The most excruciating punishment, burning at the stake, was reserved for cases of witchcraft or heresy, as an effective means of discouraging others who might be tempted to follow the profane teachings of the condemned. But however humanely intended, Any